The chains were heavy, but Sung had worn heavier. He stood in the center of a massive throne room, his wrists bound in blue energy shackles that hummed with alien technology. Around him, hundreds of beings from across the galaxy stared with expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. None of them had ever seen a human before. Most thought his species was extinct. The throne room stretched upward into darkness, its ceiling lost in shadows. Pillars of crystalline material lined the walls, pulsing with soft light. The floor beneath his feet was smooth and cold, reflecting his ragged appearance like a dark mirror. Sung kept his eyes forward, his face calm despite the situation. He had survived worse than this. At the far end of the room, elevated on a platform of floating stones, sat the throne. It was carved from a single piece of black material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. And on that throne sat Empress, ruler of 17 star systems, commander of fleets that could shatter planets, and the most powerful being in this sector of space. She looked almost human, almost. Her skin was pale with a faint shimmer as if starlight moved beneath the surface. Her hair was long and dark, flowing past her shoulders like water, but her eyes gave her away. They were violet, bright, and unnatural, glowing with an inner fire that marked her as something beyond human understanding. She wore robes of deep purple and silver, and on her head sat a crown that floated just above her hair, held in place by unseen forces. The guards who had brought Sung here were massive creatures, nearly 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin like polished stone. They stood at attention, weapons ready, but their eyes kept darting between the prisoner and their empress. Something was wrong. They could sense it. Beside the throne stood Wu, the empress's chief advisor. He was tall and thin, with skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on his face. He held a data tablet and watched Sung with obvious suspicion. Wu had served the Empress for 40 years and had never seen her show weakness. Until now. Commander Min stood on the other side of the throne, his hand resting on his weapon. He was the same species as most of the military elite. His people were known for their strength and loyalty. Min had brought Sung here himself after the capture, curious about what would make a human foolish enough to raid a smuggler station in Imperial space. The Empress had not moved since Sung entered the room. She sat frozen, her hands gripping the armrests of her throne so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Her eyes were locked on him, wide with something that looked almost like fear. The entire court had noticed. Whispers spread through the gathered nobles and officials like wildfire. Wu leaned close to her ear. "Your Majesty, shall I proceed with the interrogation?" She did not answer. She did not even seem to hear him. Her breathing had quickened, and that strange shimmer beneath her skin pulsed faster. For a long moment, the most powerful being in the known galaxy simply stared at a chained prisoner with an expression of pure shock. Sung met her gaze. There was something familiar about her, something that tugged at the edges of his memory. But that was impossible. He had never been to this part of space before. He had never met anyone like her. Finally, the Empress spoke. Her voice was soft but carried through the entire room with unnatural clarity. "Everyone out." The court erupted in confused murmurs. Wu straightened, his 3 eyes blinking in surprise. "Your Majesty." "Out." The word cracked like thunder this time, and the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. Frost formed on the nearby pillars. "All of you, now." No one argued. The nobles and officials fled through the side doors, their expensive robes trailing behind them. The guards hesitated until Commander Min nodded, then they too retreated. Within moments, the vast throne room was empty except for 3 people: the Empress, her advisor Wu, and the prisoner. "Wu," the Empress said quietly, "you as well." "Your Majesty, I must insist that I remain. This prisoner could be dangerous." "He is dangerous." Her eyes never left Sung's face. "More dangerous than you can imagine, but not in the way you think. Please, old friend, I need a moment." Wu's expression was troubled, but he bowed deeply and left through the main doors. The sound of them closing echoed through the empty space. Now it was just the two of them. The Empress rose from her throne. She moved down the steps slowly, almost hesitantly. As she approached, Sung could see that her hands were trembling. She stopped 3 meters away from him, close enough to see every detail of his face but far enough to maintain safety. "How is this possible?" she whispered. "You should not exist." Sung kept his voice level. "I get that a lot lately." She circled him slowly, studying him from every angle. Her glowing eyes traced his features, his build, the scars on his arms visible through his torn sleeves. When she spoke again, her voice was barely audible. "What is your name?" "Sung." "And your family name?" He hesitated. Family names meant nothing where he came from. His colony ship had abandoned such formalities generations ago. We did not use them. "Your colony," it was not a question. "Which ship?" "The Eternal Dawn. We left Earth 300 years ago, or so the log said. Time got strange after we hit the anomaly." The Empress stopped moving. Her face had gone even paler. "The wormhole. You know about it." Instead of answering, she reached out with one hand. Her fingers hovered centimeters from his face, not quite touching. Sung could feel heat radiating from her skin. "Do you remember anything from before the anomaly, from Earth?" "I was born on the ship, but I heard stories from the elders before they died." "Stories," she repeated, and her hand dropped. She turned away, walking back toward her throne but not climbing the steps. "What did they tell you about Earth? About why you left?" "War, resources running out, the usual reasons humans destroy themselves." Sung watched her carefully. "Why do you care? Everyone says humans are extinct, just myths and old records." "Not extinct." The Empress looked at him over her shoulder. "Scattered, lost, but not extinct." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried centuries of pain. "I should know. I was one of you." The confession hung in the air between them. Sung's mind raced. It was impossible. The Empress had ruled for over 200 years according to records. No human lived that long. And yet, looking at her now, he could see it. Beneath the alien power and strange beauty there were human features. The shape of her face, the way she held herself, the emotion in her eyes. "You were human," he said slowly. "What happened?" "Survival happened, change happened, necessity happened." She climbed back to her throne and sat, but now she looked tired, almost fragile. "I will tell you everything, Sung of the Eternal Dawn. But first, you must answer a question for me, and you must answer truthfully." "I will try. Do you have a brother?" The question struck him like a physical blow. His face must have shown it because the Empress's expression crumpled. She pressed one hand to her mouth, and Sung could see tears gathering in those glowing violet eyes. "I did," he said quietly. "Wu, he died when I was young. The ship had an accident, reactor breach. He was in engineering." The Empress made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Of course he would have been in engineering, always trying to fix things, always trying to save everyone." "You knew him?" "I knew someone like him." She composed herself with visible effort, straightening in her throne. "Guards." The doors opened immediately. Clearly they had been waiting just outside. Commander Min entered first, followed by 6 soldiers. "Take the prisoner to the royal wing," the Empress commanded. "The East Tower, the suite overlooking the gardens. Remove his shackles. Provide him with food, clothing, and anything else he requires." Min's jaw dropped. "Your Majesty, the royal wing is for—" "I know what it is for, Commander. Do as I command." "But if the council hears that you have given a prisoner such treatment—" "Then let them hear." The Empress's voice hardened and power crackled in the air around her throne. "This human is under my personal protection. Anyone who harms him answers to me. Is that clear?" Min bowed stiffly. "As you command, Your Majesty." The guards approached Sung, and one of them waved a device over his shackles. The blue energy dissipated, and his wrists were free for the first time in days. He rubbed the sore skin, watching the Empress. She was watching him too, with that same expression of mingled recognition and fear. As the guards led him toward the side exit, Sung heard her voice one last time, so quiet he almost missed it. "Forgive me, Wu. I tried to save them all." The doors closed behind him, but that whisper followed him through the palace corridors, into the luxurious suite, and through the long hours until darkness fell. He stood at the window, looking out over alien gardens filled with plants from 1,000 worlds, and tried to understand what had just happened. The answer came at midnight. He woke to find the Empress standing in his room, having entered without sound or warning. She had removed her crown and formal robes, dressed now in something simpler. In the moonlight streaming through the window, she looked almost entirely human. She moved closer, stopping at the foot of his bed. Her voice was rough with emotion, and she spoke in a language he had only heard in old recordings, a language no one had used in generations. "You came back," she said in ancient Korean. "After all this time you came back." And Sung, who should not have understood those words, found that he did. The language rose from somewhere deep in his genetic memory, from the old stories, from the dreams he sometimes had of places he had never been. Before he could respond, before he could ask the 1,000 questions burning in his mind, the Empress turned and left as silently as she had arrived. But he had seen what was in her eyes. It was not just recognition. It was not just fear. It was hope, desperate and terrifying, the kind of hope that could save a galaxy or destroy it completely. Morning arrived with unexpected gentleness. Sung woke to sunlight filtering through curtains that adjusted themselves automatically, and for a moment he forgot where he was. The bed was impossibly soft compared to the metal bunks of his colony ship or the cargo containers he had slept in during his years as a mercenary. A servant had left fresh clothes outside his door, simple but well-made, in his exact size. He dressed and explored the suite. It consisted of 3 rooms, a bedroom, a sitting area with comfortable furniture and shelves of data tablets, and a bathroom with technology he barely understood. The window overlooked gardens that stretched to the horizon, filled with flowers in colors that did not exist in nature. At least, not in any nature he knew. A soft chime announced a visitor. The door opened before he could respond, and a woman entered carrying a medical scanner. She was short and stocky, with green-tinted skin and large eyes that blinked sideways. Her white coat marked her as some kind of scientist or doctor. "I am," she said without preamble, "chief for the Imperial Science Division. The Empress has ordered a full examination of your physiology. Please sit." Sung did not move. "And if I refuse?" "Then I report to the Empress that you refused and she comes here herself to ask why." Set down her equipment and looked at him with what might have been sympathy. "Between you and me, human, I think she will be much less gentle than I will. So please, sit." He sat, worked with efficient professionalism, running scanners over his body, taking samples of hair and skin, asking questions about his medical history. She seemed particularly interested in his family background, asking repeatedly about his parents and grandparents. "Why does it matter?" Sung finally asked. "Because your DNA should not exist." Pulled up a holographic display showing a complex pattern of genetic code. "This is your genetic sequence, and this another pattern appeared beside it is from records of humans who left Earth 300 years ago. They are identical, not similar, identical." "I do not understand." "Neither do I." Deactivated the display. "Genetics drift over time. Mutations accumulate. Even in a closed colony ship, there should be variations after 10 generations. But you are genetically identical to humans from before the Exodus, as if time stopped for you." "The wormhole," Sung said quietly. "Maybe it did more than just move us through space." "Maybe," began packing her equipment. "The Empress is waiting for my report. After I deliver it, she will want to see you. Be ready." She left and Sung was alone with his thoughts again, Time stopped. The words echoed in his mind. How much time had passed while they were in that anomaly? His brother had died in a reactor breach, or so everyone said. But had he? Suddenly, Sung was not sure of anything anymore. The summons came an hour later. 2 guards escorted him through corridors of impossible beauty, past rooms filled with treasures from across the galaxy. They descended through the palace until they reached a level that seemed older than the rest, where the walls were plain metal and the lighting was dim. The guards stopped outside a sealed door. "The Empress is inside. You are to enter alone." The door opened with a hiss, revealing a small, circular room. The Empress stood with her back to him, facing a curved wall that displayed a 3-dimensional star map. She had changed into something simpler than her throne room attire, though she still wore that floating crown. Without turning, she spoke. "Do you dream, Sung?" "Everyone dreams." "No, I mean, do you dream of things you should not remember, places you have never been, people you have never met?" He hesitated. The truth was yes. For years, he had been plagued by dreams of a blue-green planet he had never visited, of buildings and cities his ship's records did not match, of faces that felt familiar despite being strangers. He had assumed they were just his mind filling in gaps from old stories. "I dream sometimes," he admitted. The Empress finally turned to face him. In the dim light, she looked younger, more human. The otherworldly shimmer of her skin was barely visible. "What do you dream about?" "Earth, at least I think it is Earth, but different from the records, more crowded, more developed. And there is a woman with violet eyes who tells me to run, to hide, to survive no matter what." The Empress closed her eyes and a single tear traced down her cheek. When she opened them again, her voice was thick with emotion. 312 years ago, I was part of Earth's first deep space expedition. We were scientists, explorers, idealists who thought we could find new homes for humanity before the wars consumed everything. We found the instead. She gestured and the star map changed, showing an alien solar system. They were dying. A plague had wiped out 90% of their population. Their technology was advanced, but their biology was failing. They had developed a process to transfer consciousness into artificial bodies, but they needed fresh genetic material to stabilize it. They needed us. "They turned you into this," Sung said. "Some of us volunteered. I volunteered." The star map shifted again, showing images of war and destruction. "I returned to Earth to warn them, to organize an evacuation, but I was too late. The wars had already begun. The colony ships were launching in desperation. I tried to protect as many as I could, but there were so many." She walked closer to him, and for the first time Sung saw the weight she carried. 200 years of ruling an empire, of making impossible choices, of living while everyone she had known died. "The transformation gave me power, extended my life, but it took something too. Memories fade, emotions dull. I was forgetting what it meant to be human." "So you built an empire." "I built a haven." She touched the star map, and it zoomed out to show the 17 systems under her control. Every species here was fleeing something: war, plague, extinction. I gave them safety, order, a chance to survive. And I hoped every day for 3 centuries that somewhere out there humans had survived too. And then I showed up. And then you showed up. The Empress returned to the star map, changing it again. This time it showed a ship, long and cylindrical, covered in ice. "The Eternal Dawn. We found the wreckage 6 months ago at the edge of my territory. It was frozen in time, literally. The wormhole did not destroy you. It trapped you in a temporal bubble." "Then how did I escape?" "We do not know, but your ship's logs show something interesting." She pulled up a new image, a photograph from the ship's database. It showed 2 young men in engineering uniforms, arms around each other's shoulders, smiling at the camera. One of them was unmistakably Sung. The other looked almost identical but older, with kinder eyes. "That is Wu," Sung whispered. "My brother." "Yes." The Empress stared at the image with an expression of such profound sadness that it hurt to witness. I knew him, not your Wu, a different one, or maybe the same one. Time makes these things complicated. She manipulated the display and another image appeared. It was an old photograph, taken on Earth decades before the Exodus. It showed a group of scientists in a laboratory. Among them was a young woman with dark hair and bright eyes, smiling at something off-camera. Next to her stood a man in an engineering uniform. He looked exactly like Wu. "That was my Wu," the Empress said softly. "My partner, my love. He was supposed to come with me on the expedition, but at the last minute he was reassigned to the colony ship program. I thought I would see him again in a few years. Instead, I came back to find Earth in flames and all the colony ships gone." Sung felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. "You think your Wu and my brother were the same person, reincarnated, a cosmic coincidence? I do not know." The Empress sat down heavily in a chair, suddenly looking exhausted. "When I saw you in the throne room for a moment I thought he had come back, that somehow, impossibly, he had survived and found me, but you are not him." "No, I am not. And yet you are his brother. You carry his genes, his family line, maybe even some of his memories, buried deep in your DNA." She looked up at him with those glowing violet eyes. "Do you understand why I am afraid of you, Sung?" "Because I remind you of what you lost." "Because you remind me of what I am," she corrected. "When I look at you, I remember being human. I remember love and hope and all the things I have spent centuries trying to forget because they hurt too much. You are proof that humanity survived, which means everything I have done for the past 3 centuries might have been for nothing." "That is not fair." "No, it is not." The Empress stood and walked to him. Up close, he could see the conflict in her eyes, the war between the powerful alien ruler she had become and the human woman she used to be. "I have been searching for humans for 200 years. I have sent expeditions, followed every rumor, investigated every wreck. And now that I have found one, I do not know what to do with you." "You could start by telling me the truth," Sung said. "All of it. What happened to my ship? Where are the other survivors? And why did you whisper to me last night in a language that should be dead?" The Empress smiled sadly. "Because some part of me still remembers, some part of me still hopes. Come, there is something I need to show you." She led him deeper into the old section of the palace, down corridors that felt more like a ship than a building. Finally, they reached a door marked with symbols in ancient Korean. The Empress placed her hand on the scanner, and the door opened. Inside was a museum. Artifacts from Earth lined the walls. Photographs, books, clothing, tools, even a few plants growing under artificial lights. At the center of the room stood a holographic projector. "This is my shrine," the Empress said quietly. "The only place where I allow myself to remember." She activated the projector, and suddenly the room was filled with images. People from Earth going about their daily lives centuries ago. Children playing, couples dancing, scientists working in laboratories. And there in the middle of it all was a young man in an engineering uniform. Wu, her Wu. He was laughing at something, his whole face lit up with joy. The hologram had been captured on a beautiful day, with sunlight streaming through windows that no longer existed on a planet that had been ravaged by war. "I made a promise to him," the Empress said, her voice breaking. "The day I left for the expedition, he made me promise that if anything went wrong, I would survive. I would adapt. I would live. And I have kept that promise for over 3 centuries." She turned to Sung, and he saw tears streaming down her face. The powerful Empress, ruler of 17 star systems, was crying like the human woman she used to be. "But I also promised I would find him again, that somehow, somewhere, we would be reunited. When you walked into my throne room, I thought maybe the universe had finally answered that prayer." "I am not him," Sung said gently. "I know." She wiped her tears away, and slowly her composure returned. The shimmer beneath her skin brightened. The alien power reasserted itself. But you are his brother, you are human, and you are here, which means others might be out there too. The other colony ships. Yes, if your ship survived in temporal stasis, others might have as well. We need to find them. The Empress's expression hardened into something determined. But there are those in my empire who will not be pleased to learn that humans have returned. They fear your species. They remember the wars, the destruction, the chaos that followed humanity wherever it went. So what do? We prepare. The Empress deactivated the hologram, and the room returned to dim stillness. We'll continue studying your biology. Wu will search for records of other colony ships, and you will stay here under my protection while I figure out how to introduce the concept of living humans to an empire that has spent centuries believing you were extinct. And what about you? Sung asked. What will you do? The Empress looked at the empty space where the hologram had been, where the image of her lost love had smiled for one brief moment. I will try to remember how to be human again, and I will try to forgive myself for all the ways I have failed. She left him alone in the shrine, surrounded by memories of a world that no longer existed and a people who had been scattered to the stars. Sung stood there for a long time, looking at the artifacts, feeling the weight of history pressing down on him. Finally, he touched one of the photographs on the wall. It showed a group of young people at what looked like a graduation ceremony. They were all smiling, full of hope and ambition, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. And there in the back row, he saw her, a young woman with dark hair and bright eyes, standing next to a man in an engineering uniform. The Empress and her Wu, before everything went wrong. I am not him, Sung said to the empty room, but maybe I can help you keep your promise. Outside, unknown to either of them, forces were already moving. News of the human prisoner had spread throughout the empire, and not everyone was pleased with the Empress's protection of this dangerous remnant from the past. The attack came 3 days later, in the darkest hour before dawn. Sung woke to the sound of explosions echoing through the palace walls. He rolled out of bed instantly, years of survival instinct taking over. The windows of his suite showed fires burning in the lower levels of the palace. Alarms blared throughout the complex. The door to his suite burst open. 2 guards rushed in, weapons drawn but not aimed at him. Come with us now, the larger one barked. The palace is under attack. By who? Does it matter? Move. They ran through corridors filled with smoke and chaos. Other guards rushed past them, heading toward the sounds of fighting. Servants fled in the opposite direction, clutching valuables or simply running for their lives. The palace shook with another explosion, closer this time. Debris rained from the ceiling. They turned a corner and nearly collided with Commander Min. The military officer looked grim, his uniform scorched and his weapon drawn. Blood stained his left arm, but he seemed not to notice. The human, he said, seeing Sung. Good, get him to the Empress's private bunker. What is happening? Sung demanded. Rebels, they have breached the outer defenses and are pushing toward the throne room. Min grabbed one of the guards. Take Corridor 7. Corridors 1 through 5 are compromised. Before the guard could respond, a section of wall exploded inward. The blast threw them all to the ground. Sung's ears rang from the concussion. Through the smoke and dust, figures emerged. They wore black armor and moved with military precision. Rebels. The guards opened fire, but the rebels were ready. Energy shields absorbed the blasts. Return fire cut down one guard instantly. Min rolled behind cover, dragging Sung with him. When I say run, you run, the commander hissed. Do not stop for anything. I am not leaving you here too. You are the reason they are attacking. Min's 3 eyes blazed with anger and something else. Fear. They know the Empress has a human. They want to kill you to prove she has gone soft, that she cares more about your dead species than her living empire. Now run. He shoved Sung toward a side passage and opened fire on the rebels. Sung ran, hating himself for it but understanding the logic. Behind him, he heard Min's weapon fire, then the commander's voice raised in a battle cry that was cut short by an explosion. The corridor twisted and turned. Sung had no idea where he was going, only that he needed to move. He emerged into a large chamber filled with ancient machinery, parts of the ship that had become the palace's foundation. It was a dead end. "Hello, Sung." He spun. A man stood in the entrance he had just come through. A human man. He was older than Sung, maybe 40, with streaks in his hair and scars covering his arms. He wore the black armor of the rebels, but his helmet was off, revealing a face that was weathered but kind. "My name is Min Ho," the man said in flawless Korean. "I was hoping we could talk before they find you." "You are human," Sung breathed. "There are others. 6 of us survived your ship. We woke up 3 months before you did, managed to escape before the Empress's forces found the wreckage." Min Ho kept his weapon lowered, a gesture of peace. "We have been living in the outer systems, trying to survive, trying to find other humans, and then we heard about you. So you started a war." "We joined one." Min Ho stepped closer. "The rebellion has been brewing for years. The Empress has ruled for 2 centuries, Sung. She has become more alien than the aliens she governs. She does not remember what it means to be human, to struggle, to be vulnerable. Her people are starting to hate her for it. She is trying to protect them." "By becoming a tyrant," Min Ho shook his head. "I have studied her history. I know what she was before the transformation. A good person, a hero, but power corrupts and immortality makes it worse. The woman you met is not the woman who left Earth. She is something else now. She is trying to change. Because of you, because you remind her of what she lost." Min Ho's voice turned urgent. "Do not you see? You are a tool to her, a way to reclaim her humanity. But what about actual humanity? What about us? The survivors who do not have power, who are hunted and scattered and afraid." The building shook with another explosion. Closer now. Min Ho glanced toward the entrance nervously. "I do not have much time. The rebel leader Jin, she wants to kill the Empress tonight, end her reign and establish a council of equals. But I convinced her to let me find you first, to give you a choice." "What choice?" "Come with us. Help us build a future for humanity that is not dependent on the mercy of an alien Empress." Min Ho extended his hand. "Or stay here and become her pet, her reminder of a past she cannot change. Which do you think your brother would want?" The mention of Wu stung. Sung thought about the photographs in the shrine, about the promise the Empress had made, about the tears in her eyes when she looked at him. Then he thought about Min Ho's words. 6 other human survivors, more colony ships possibly in stasis. A future for his species that did not depend on one woman's guilt and power. "I need to think." The wall exploded, not from outside this time, but from within. A figure of pure energy and light tore through the ancient metal like paper. The Empress emerged from the destruction, and she was terrifying. Her eyes blazed with violet fire. Her skin crackled with power that made the air itself scream. She was not wearing her crown or robes. She was barely wearing anything, her transformation having burned away clothing to reveal the alien architecture beneath her human appearance. "Get away from him," she snarled at Min Ho. Her voice echoed with harmonics that should not come from a human throat. Min Ho raised his weapon but did not fire. "Your Majesty, I was just lying, manipulating, trying to steal the only piece of humanity I have left." The Empress moved faster than Sung could track. One moment she was at the entrance, the next she had Min Ho by the throat, lifting him off the ground. "Did you think I would not know? Did you think I would not feel it when my palace was breached, when my people were hurt, when someone tried to take what is mine?" "He is not yours," Min Ho choked out. "He is human, he deserves freedom. He deserves safety." The Empress's grip tightened. "Something you could never provide. You talk of building a future, but you ally yourself with terrorists. You talk of humanity, but you bring war to my doorstep." Sung found his voice. "Stop, please, let him go." The Empress turned those burning eyes on him. For a moment, he saw madness there. The madness of someone who had lived too long, held too much power, and forgotten how to be gentle. Then something in his expression must have reached her because the fire dimmed slightly. "He is working with those who want to kill me," she said. "Then arrest him, question him, but do not kill him." Sung stepped closer, putting himself between them. "He is human, one of 6 survivors from my ship. You said you had been searching for us for 200 years. Here we are. This is not how you welcome us home." The Empress's hand trembled. Slowly, she lowered Minho back to the ground and released him. He collapsed, gasping for air. The inhuman light faded from her skin, leaving her looking exhausted and more human than Sung had yet seen her. "You are right," she whispered. "I am sorry, when I felt you in danger, I lost control. Because of me, or because of what I represent." She did not answer. The sound of running feet approached. A dozen guards burst into the chamber, weapons ready. Behind them came Wu, the advisor's face with worry. "Your Majesty, thank the stars you are safe. We have secured the throne room, but the rebels are still fighting in the lower levels." "Pull back our forces," the Empress ordered. "Let them retreat. I want prisoners, not corpses." Wu's 3 eyes blinked in surprise. "But Your Majesty." "Do it." The word cracked like a whip, but underneath the authority was something that sounded like desperation. "Please, just do it." The guards took Minho into custody. As they led him away, the human met Sung's eyes. "Think about what I said. You still have a choice." Then he was gone, leaving Sung alone with the Empress and her advisor. The 3 of them stood in the destroyed chamber, surrounded by wreckage and the distant sounds of fighting. The Empress sank to the ground, sitting among the rubble like a broken doll. "I am losing control," she said quietly. "Not of the Empire, of myself. The transformation was supposed to give me centuries to fulfill my promise to find humanity and protect them. But instead, it is turning me into a monster." Sung sat beside her. Up close, he could see cracks in her skin like porcelain about to shatter. Light leaked through those cracks, the same light that had burned so terrifyingly bright moments ago. "What is happening to you?" "The transformation is failing." Wu spoke for the first time, his voice heavy with sorrow. "We have known for years. The technology was never meant for humans. It has kept her alive long past when she should have died, but at a cost." "How long?" "Months," the Empress said. "Maybe a year if I am lucky. The more power I use, the faster the degradation. Tonight, when I felt you in danger, I used more power than I have in decades. I probably shortened my remaining time by weeks." "Why did you do it?" She looked at him with those violet eyes, and he saw the truth there. "Because I made a promise to survive, to protect, to find humanity and keep them safe. I have failed at so much, Sung. I could not save Earth. I could not find the colony ships in time. I could not keep Wu alive. But maybe, just maybe, I can save you, even if it kills me." The words hung in the smoky air. Sung thought about Minho's offer, about freedom and independence. Then he thought about this woman who had sacrificed everything to keep a promise made 3 centuries ago to a man who was dead. His brother. Not his actual brother, but close enough that the distinction barely mattered. "You do not have to save me alone," he said finally, "and you do not have to die for it." "What do you mean?" "Minho said there are 6 human survivors from my ship. That is 7 including me. You have been ruling alone for 200 years, making all the decisions, carrying all the weight. Maybe it is time to share the burden." Wu made a soft sound of surprise. The Empress stared at Sung as if he had spoken in an alien language. "You want me to work with them, the rebels who just attacked my palace?" "I want you to work with humans, your people, my people." Sung stood and offered her his hand. "You are dying because the transformation is incompatible with human biology. Maybe the answer is not more power. Maybe it is to become human again." "I cannot." Her voice broke. "If I give up my power, I cannot protect anyone. The empire will fall apart. Species that have been enemies for will start fighting again. Everything I have built will crumble. Not if you build something better first. Not if you share the power instead of hoarding it. He kept his hand extended. You made a promise to Wu, to survive, yes, but also to live. And you are not living. You are just existing, alone at the top of an empire, slowly dying from the inside out. The Empress looked at his hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached up and took it. He pulled her to her feet, and for just a second, standing there in the wreckage, she looked like an ordinary woman. Tired, afraid, human. I do not know how to be human anymore, she admitted. Then we will learn together. An explosion in the distance reminded them that the battle was not over. Wu's communicator buzzed with urgent messages. The palace was still under siege. The rebellion was still in full swing. And somewhere in the depths of the building, Jin was leading her forces toward the throne room. But something had changed. The Empress straightened her shoulders, took a breath, and let the inhuman light fade from her eyes. When she spoke, her voice was strong but not terrifying, powerful but not alien. Wu, open a channel to the rebel leader, all frequencies. Your Majesty. Do it, I am going to make an offer. As the advisor worked, the Empress turned to Sung. I hope you know what you are doing, human. What I am about to propose will change everything. Good, Sung said. Everything needs to change. The channel opened. Across the palace, on every communicator and screen, the Empress's voice rang out. This is Empress. I am calling for an immediate ceasefire. Jin, rebel leader, I know you can hear me. I have a proposal. Come to the throne room. Bring your commanders. We are going to talk about the future. Silence. Then, crackling over the channel, a woman's voice answered. Why should we trust you? Because I am bringing a human with me. 7 humans, actually. And we are going to discuss how to build an empire that does not need an immortal tyrant to hold it together. More silence. Finally, 1 hour throne room, no weapons, no tricks. Agreed. The Empress closed the channel and looked at Sung. Now we find out if your plan is brilliant or suicidal. Probably both, he admitted. She laughed, a sound that was almost human. Then it is a good plan after all. Come, we have work to do, and Sung. Yes. Thank you for reminding me why I made that promise in the first place. Together, they walked through the damaged palace toward the throne room, toward a future that neither of them could predict. Behind them, Wu followed, already making preparations for a meeting that would either save the empire or destroy it completely. The throne room looked like a battlefield. Scorch marks the beautiful walls. 2 of the crystalline pillars had been shattered. Bodies of guards and rebels alike lay covered with sheets along one wall. The floating throne itself was cracked, its dark material no longer absorbing light but reflecting it in broken fragments. The Empress stood in the center of the room, her crown absent, her robes replaced with simple clothing. She looked smaller somehow, less imposing without all the trappings of power. Sung stood beside her. Behind them were Wu, Commander Min, who had survived his injuries, and the scientist. The 6 other human survivors from the Eternal Dawn lined the other side. Min Ho was among them, his throat still bruised from the Empress's grip. The others were strangers to Sung, but he felt an immediate connection. They were his people in a way that nothing else in this galaxy could be. The rebel forces entered last. Jin led them, and she was not what Sung expected. She was young, maybe 25 in human years, with golden skin and white hair that marked her as one of the species. She moved with the confidence of someone who had spent her entire life fighting. Behind her came a mixed group of species. Warriors, soldiers, even a few crystalline beings whose names Sung did not know. Everyone was unarmed as agreed, but the tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Your Majesty, Jin said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You called for a meeting. We are here, talk. The Empress did not rise to the bait. I want to tell you a story about a woman named who left Earth 312 years ago, about what she found, what she became, and what she has been trying to accomplish ever since. "We know your history," Jin interrupted. "You were human once. You transformed. You built an empire. None of that excuses your tyranny." "You are right, it does not." The Empress's admission shocked the room into silence. "I have made many mistakes in my 2 centuries of rule. I have become distant, cold, more concerned with control than with the of my people. I have forgotten what it means to be vulnerable, to need help, to trust others." She gestured to Sung. "This human reminded me, not just of who I was, but of why I started building this empire in the first place. It was meant to be a haven, a safe place for species fleeing destruction, somewhere people could live without fear. When did it become a prison instead?" Jin's expression softened slightly, but suspicion remained. "Pretty words, but words do not change the fact that you have ruled absolutely for 200 years. You make all the decisions. You control all the power. How is that different from any other dictator?" "It is not different," the Empress said quietly. "That is why I am proposing we change it." The room erupted. Rebels and imperial forces alike began shouting questions. The Empress raised her hand and the room fell silent, not because of power or magic, but because of sheer force of presence. "I am dying," she said simply. The words hit like a physical blow. Wu closed his eyes. Commander Min's face went. Even Jin looked shocked. The Empress continued, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "The transformation was never meant for humans. It has kept me alive far longer than I should have lived, but it is killing me. Months, maybe a year at most. The more power I use, the faster it progresses. Eventually, my body will simply tear itself apart." "Why tell us this?" one of the rebels asked. "You could have kept it secret." "Because secrets are how tyrannies survive, and I am tired of surviving. I want to live. More than that, I want to build something that will outlast me." The Empress looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes in turn. "I am proposing we establish a council, representatives from each major species in the empire, humans included, decisions made by consensus, not by decree." "You expect us to believe you will give up power just like that?" Jin shook her head. "After 200 years. I expect you to help me give it up in a way that does not destroy everything we have built." The Empress gestured to show them. The scientist activated a holographic display. It showed the Empire's 17 star systems, but with connections and dependencies highlighted. Trade routes, defense pacts, resource-sharing agreements. It was a web of incredible complexity, all balanced on the single point that was the Empress's authority. "If I simply abdicate tomorrow, this all collapses," the Empress explained. "Species with old grudges will start fighting. Trade will break down. Systems that depend on imperial protection will be vulnerable. We need a transition, a way to shift power gradually to a council that can maintain stability." "How long?" Jin asked. 6 months, maybe less if we work together." One of the human survivors spoke up, a woman named who looked to be in her 30s. "And what about us, the humans? Where do we fit into this new order?" The Empress turned to her. "That is the other part of this story, the part I only recently discovered." She nodded to Wu, who brought forth a data tablet. 3 days ago, made a discovery in the wreckage of the Eternal Dawn, an AI core still functional after 3 centuries in temporal stasis. Took over the explanation. The AI was designed to preserve the consciousness patterns of the ship's crew in case of emergency. It contains personality matrices, memories, even genetic templates, and one of those patterns is very interesting. The holographic display changed to show a face, a human man, smiling gently. It was the same face from the photographs in the Empress's shrine. Wu. "The AI contains a complete personality matrix for the chief engineer," continued. "It has been dormant but aware, watching over the ship and its crew for 300 years, and it has a message." The hologram shifted, and suddenly Wu was not a still image but a moving, talking presence. The AI spoke with his voice, his mannerisms, his expressions. If you are watching this, then I am gone and you have survived. Good. That was the plan. The Empress made a sound that might have been a sob. She pressed one hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The AI continued. I want you to know that I am not angry. You made the choice to transform, to gain the power needed to save as many people as possible. It was the right choice, even if it meant we could not be together. I am proud of you. The room was silent. Even the rebels seemed moved by the emotion in the AI's voice. But I need to tell you something important. The colony ships were not just random refugees. We were preserving humanity, yes, but we were also preserving the knowledge of how to undo the transformation. The scientists who developed it knew there would be a risk. They created a way to safely reverse the changes. The data is encoded in the genetic structure of the colonists themselves. Sung felt as if someone had punched him. He looked at his hands, suddenly understanding why he had been so interested in his DNA. He was not just a survivor, he was a living key. The AI's expression turned sad. I know you will want to stay powerful to keep protecting everyone, but you cannot save the galaxy by yourself. You have to trust others. You have to let them help carry the burden. And most importantly, you have to forgive yourself. For Earth, for me, for all the things you could not control. The hologram flickered. I love you. I will always love you. But my final wish is this: be human again, be vulnerable again, be happy again. That is the only way to truly honor my memory. The AI faded. The throne room was utterly silent. The Empress stood frozen, tears pouring down her face. Finally, she looked at Sung. You carry the reversal code in your DNA, confirmed it, which means I can become human again. But if I do, I lose all my power, all my abilities. I become mortal. Is that not what you want? Sung asked gently. I do not know. For 200 years I have defined myself by this power, by what I can do, who I can protect. If I give it up, who am I? Minho stepped forward. You are a scientist from Earth who made an impossible choice to save lives. The power does not define you. Your choices do. Jin spoke next, her voice softer than before. I started this rebellion because I believed you had become a tyrant, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe you just forgot how to ask for help. Commander Min, loyal to the end, cleared his throat. Your Majesty, you once told me that true strength is knowing when to stand alone and when to stand with others. It seems you have forgotten your own wisdom. The Empress looked around the room at the faces watching her. Rebels and loyalists, humans and aliens, all of them waiting to see what she would choose. She took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice was steady. Then let us begin. Wu, start drafting the framework for a representative council. Jin, I need your help identifying trustworthy leaders from each species. Commander Min, you will oversee the military transition. She turned to the scientist. Begin preparations for the reversal process. I want it completed within 3 months. That gives us time to establish the council and ensure a smooth transition. Your Majesty, the process is dangerous, warned. The transformation has been part of you for so long that revering it could kill you. Better to die human than live as a monster. The Empress smiled sadly. Besides, I have excellent motivation to survive. There are 6 colony ships worth of humans still out there in temporal stasis. Someone needs to find them and bring them home. Sung spoke up. 7 ships. The Eternal Dawn had sister ships in our flotilla. If one survived, the others might have too. Then we have work to do. The Empress looked at Jin. Does the rebellion accept this proposal? Will you help us build something better? Jin glanced at her fellow rebels. They nodded one by one. She turned back to the Empress. On one condition, the council must have real power, not just advisory, actual decision-making authority. Agreed. I will retain emergency powers during the transition, But once the council is established and I complete the reversal, I will be just another citizen. One voice among many. Then we have an accord. Jin extended her hand. The Empress took it and the two women shook. It was a small gesture, but it felt like the entire galaxy shifted. The meeting continued for hours. Details were hammered out. Compromises were made. By the time dawn broke over the palace, the framework for a new government had been established. Representatives would be chosen within 1 month. The council would have full legislative power. The Empress would serve as an advisor but would gradually transfer executive authority. And in 3 months, if all went well, she would become human again. As people filed out of the throne room, exhausted but hopeful, Sung found himself alone with the Empress once more. She was staring at the broken throne, a small smile on her face. "I should have done this decades ago," she said quietly. "But I was afraid of losing control, afraid of not being able to protect everyone, afraid that without my power I would be worthless." "You were never worthless. The power just made it easier to hide your fear." She laughed softly. "When did you become so wise?" "I had a good teacher. My brother always said that the strongest people are the ones who know when to ask for help." "Your brother sounds like he was a remarkable man." "He was, both of them." Sung looked at the Empress, seeing not an immortal ruler but a tired woman who had carried an impossible burden for far too long. "Wu would be proud of you, both the man I knew and the man you loved. They would be proud of what you are about to do." Tears welled in her eyes again, but this time she was smiling through them. "Thank you for reminding me how to be human, for giving me the courage to change, for keeping me honest. That is what humans do. We survive, we adapt, and we help each other carry the weight." Sung offered his arm. "Come on, you have 3 months to prepare for the biggest transformation of your life. Let us start planning." The Empress took his arm, and together they walked out of the broken throne room toward an uncertain but hopeful future. Behind them, the cracked throne sat empty. It would not be needed anymore. Outside the palace, the sun was rising over a galaxy on the brink of change. 7 humans and 1 dying Empress were about to reshape an empire. The odds were impossible. The risks were enormous. But for the first time in 200 years, there was genuine hope. And in the end, hope was the most human thing of all. 3 months had passed like a dream. The palace that had once been a fortress of isolation was now a hub of constant activity. Representatives from every species in the empire came and went, debating, arguing, and slowly building something unprecedented, a government of equals. Sung stood in what used to be the shrine room, now converted into a command center. Holographic displays showed the locations of the 7 colony ships, all detected by long-range sensors. They floated in temporal bubbles scattered across space, each one containing thousands of sleeping humans waiting to wake to a galaxy they would not recognize. "We found the last one 3 days ago," said, updating the display. "The morning star trapped near a red giant. We can begin recovery operations as soon as the council approves the resource allocation." "They will approve it," Sung said with certainty. The council had proven surprisingly efficient once people realized that cooperation produced better results than endless power struggles. "How many people total?" "Approximately 43,000 humans across all 7 ships, plus the genetic templates in the AI cores." His large eyes blinked thoughtfully. "Your species will have a real population again, not just scattered survivors." The door opened and entered, looking excited. "You need to see this, now." She led Sung through the palace to a medical wing that had been prepared with the best equipment in the empire. Inside the main chamber, the Empress lay on a specialized bed surrounded by monitoring equipment. A team of scientists worked around her, making final preparations. Commander Min stood watch in the corner, his face tight with worry. Wu paced near the window. The Empress looked frail. The cracks in her skin had spread, and light leaked through constantly now. She was burning herself out from the inside, her human biology and alien technology finally reaching the breaking point. She smiled weakly when she saw Sung. Perfect timing. We start the reversal in 1 hour. Are you ready? I have been ready for 200 years. I just did not realize it. She gestured weakly at the equipment. Says the process will take 3 days. I will essentially be in a coma while my body rebuilds itself on a cellular level. If it works, I wake up fully human. If it does not. It will work, Sung said firmly. How can you be so sure? Because you have survived everything else. A transformation that should have killed you. 2 centuries of impossible choices. A war with yourself. This is just one more challenge. The Empress reached out and took his hand. Her skin was hot, almost burning. Promise me something. If I do not survive this, you will help them. The Council, the humans from the colony ships, all of them. Promise me you will keep building what we started. I promise, but you are going to survive and you are going to help us yourself. She squeezed his hand, then released it. I am ready. As the scientists made final preparations, Minho entered with news. The council has voted. Jin will serve as interim leader during the Empress's recovery. When she wakes, she will have a seat on the council but no special authority beyond that. One voice among many. How did Jin vote? She was the one who proposed it. Minho smiled. Turns out she is better at governing than destroying. Who knew? The hour passed quickly. The medical team worked with precise efficiency, hooking the Empress to machines that would monitor every aspect of her physiology during the transformation. Explained the process one more time, making sure everyone understood the risks. Then, finally, it was time. Any last words, Your Majesty? Wu asked, his voice thick with emotion. The Empress thought for a moment. Then she smiled, and for the first time since Sung had met her, she looked genuinely at peace. My name is Just, and I am ready to go home. Activated the sequence. The equipment hummed to life. The Empress's body began to glow, but this time it was different. Instead of the harsh, burning light of alien power, this was softer, warmer, more natural. Her body was remembering how to be human. Within minutes, she was unconscious. The monitors showed her vital signs fluctuating wildly as human and alien biology warred within her. The light beneath her skin pulsed in patterns that hurt to look at. The medical team worked frantically to stabilize her. She is fighting the change, said urgently. The alien technology does not want to let go. It is trying to preserve itself. Can you help her? Sung demanded. I am trying, but words cut off as one of the monitors alarmed. The Empress's heart rate was dropping. Her body temperature was rising. The light beneath her skin blazed brighter and brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. Then the room filled with sound. Not from the equipment, but from the AI core they had recovered from the eternal dawn. The consciousness of Wu, stored for 300 years, activated on its own. His voice echoed through the chamber, speaking directly to the unconscious woman. I know you are scared. I know the power has been part of you for so long that letting it go feels like dying. But it is not. It is being born again. The light pulsed in response to his words. The equipment stabilized slightly. You do not need the power to be strong. You never did. The strength was always yours. The power was just a tool, and tools can be set down when they are no longer needed. The Empress's body convulsed. His team rushed to help, but the AI spoke again, louder now. I need you to trust me one more time. Let go. Stop fighting. Come back to being human. Come back to me. For a long moment, nothing changed. Then slowly the light began to fade. The harsh alien glow softened, dimmed, and finally went dark. The Empress's skin stopped cracking. Her vital signs stabilized. The transformation was working. She is responding, breathed. The reversal is taking hold. Her cellular structure is rebuilding itself using the genetic templates. By the stars, it is actually working. The AI's voice spoke one last time, soft and full of love. "That is it. Come home. I will be waiting." Then the AI core went dark, its purpose fulfilled. The consciousness of Wu, preserved for 3 centuries, had spent its final energy guiding the woman he loved back to humanity. Wu, who was standing near the core, touched it gently. "Thank you, old friend. Rest now." The next 3 days were the longest of Sung's life. He stayed in the medical wing almost constantly, watching over the unconscious Empress along with Wu, Commander Min, and a rotating shift of council members. Everyone wanted to be there when she woke, if she woke. The galaxy did not stop while they waited. The council handled a trade dispute between 2 systems. Jin negotiated a peace treaty with a neighboring empire that had been hostile for decades. The first recovery team reached one of the colony ships and began carefully waking the humans inside. Life went on. On the morning of the 4th day, the Empress opened her eyes. Sung was dozing in a chair when Wu's excited cry woke him. He rushed to the bedside. The Empress was conscious, blinking in confusion at the lights. She tried to speak, but her voice came out as a croak, quickly provided water. "How do you feel?" the scientist asked, scanning her with every available instrument. "Weak." The Empress's voice was barely a whisper, but it was fully human. No harmonics. No alien undertones, just the voice of a tired woman. Hungry, confused, did it work? "See for yourself," held up a mirror. The Empress stared at her reflection. Her skin was no longer shimmering. Her eyes were brown, deep and warm and completely human. Her hair was still dark, but without that liquid quality it had possessed before. She looked younger somehow, or maybe just more natural. She raised a trembling hand to touch her face. "I am human," she whispered. "After 200 years, I am finally human again." Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. Wu took her hand and she squeezed it weakly. "How long was I unconscious?" 3.5 days, Commander Min reported. "The Empire has not fallen apart if you were worried. Jin has been handling things admirably." "Good, that is good." The Empress tried to sit up but was too weak, gently pushed her back down. "You need to rest. Your body has massive trauma. It will take weeks before you are fully recovered." "Weeks?" The Empress laughed softly. "I have time now, actual finite time. How strange that feels." She looked at Sung. "Did you keep your promise? Are you taking care of everyone?" "I am trying, but I think they do not need as much taking care of as you thought. People are pretty good at managing themselves when you give them the chance." "I am learning that." She closed her eyes for a moment, exhausted from even this brief conversation. "Is Wu?" "He saved you one last time," Wu said gently. "Then he let go. He is at peace now." Fresh tears leaked from the Empress's closed eyes. "Thank you for everything, for 300 years of patience, for one last gift." She opened her eyes again and looked around at the gathered faces. "What happens now?" Sung pulled up a holographic display showing the colony ships. "Now we bring humanity home. The first ship is already being recovered. Within 6 months, all 7 ships will be here. 43,000 humans ready to start new lives." "And me, what is my role in all this?" "Whatever you want it to be," Jin said from the doorway. She entered the room, looking less like a rebel leader and more like a politician these days. "The council has discussed your position. If you wish, you can serve as a special advisor on human affairs, or you can retire, or you can do something completely different. The choice is yours." "A choice?" The Empress tested the word like it was something foreign. "I am not used to having choices." "You had better get used to it," Minho said, joining the growing crowd in the medical bay. "Because that is what freedom looks like. Choices, consequences, living with uncertainty." The Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice growing stronger. "I want to help with the colony ships. I want to be there when the humans wake up. I want to help them adjust to this new galaxy, this new reality. I want to do what I should have done 3 centuries ago, guide them, not rule them, teach them, not control them. That sounds like a good plan, Sung said. What about you? The Empress asked him. What will you do? The Council wants me to serve as the human representative, speak for our species as we integrate into the Empire. He shrugged. It is not what I planned, but nothing in my life has gone according to plan. Why start now? Because plans are overrated, added, entering with a data pad. Speaking of which, we have an unexpected development. One of the colony ships, the New Dawn, has an additional AI core, and it contains consciousness patterns for over 1,000 people, including, she paused, checking the data, including someone named Wu. The room went silent. The Empress stared at what? The chief engineer from the colony ship. Different person from your Wu, but same name, similar personality profile. He uploaded his consciousness before a critical accident, just like your Wu did. We can restore him. Give him an android body, maybe even clone a biological one using the genetic templates. The Empress pressed a hand to her mouth. More tears, but these were different. These were tears of hope. He would have a chance to live, a real life, not just preserved memory. If you want to help, Sung said gently. If you want a project, something to focus on during your recovery, we have over 1,000 consciousness patterns to review, restore, and integrate. We need someone who understands the technology, who knows what it means to be transformed and transformed back, someone who can guide them. The Empress wiped her tears and nodded. Yes, I can do that. I want to do that. She looked at Sung with an expression of profound gratitude. Thank you for not giving up on me, for helping me find my way back. You found your own way back. I just reminded you it was possible. Recovery continued. Over the following weeks, the Empress grew stronger. She learned to walk again without the aid of alien power. She learned to feel hunger, cold, fatigue. She learned to be vulnerable and discovered that vulnerability was not the same as weakness. The first colony ship was successfully recovered. 5,000 humans woke to find themselves in a galaxy run by their own descendant, a woman who had waited 3 centuries to welcome them home. The joy and confusion of those first meetings were overwhelming, but the Empress handled it with grace. She answered their questions, calmed their fears, and introduced them to a universe that was strange but not hostile. More ships followed. Each one brought new humans, new challenges, new opportunities. The Council worked tirelessly to integrate them, finding homes, jobs, places in society. It was not always smooth. There were conflicts, misunderstandings, growing pains, but everyone worked together and slowly humanity began to thrive again. 6 months after the reversal, Sung stood on a platform overlooking a new settlement. Thousands of humans had chosen to live here, on a planet the Empress had designated as a human, not Earth, that was long gone, but a place where they could build new lives, new traditions, new futures. The Empress joined him, walking without assistance now. She looked healthy, vibrant, fully alive in a way she never had when she was immortal and powerful. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "That we did it. Against impossible odds, we actually did it." He gestured at the settlement below. "Your promise to Wu, you kept it. You survived, you found humanity, and you gave us a future." "We gave us a future," she corrected. "This was not just my work. It was all of us. Humans and aliens working together, choosing cooperation over conflict." "Very diplomatic of you." She laughed. "I am learning slowly." She pulled out a small device from her pocket. It was the AI core from her Wu, deactivated but preserved. "I am going to bury this here. Let him rest in the soil of humanity's new beginning. Do you think that is foolish?" "I think it is perfect." Together they walked to a spot under a great tree that had been imported from another world. The Empress dug a small hole with her own hands, enjoying the feel of dirt between her fingers. She placed the AI core gently in the earth and covered it. "Thank you," she said to the ground, "for 300 years of guidance, for loving me enough to let me go, for the final gift of saving my life. Rest now. Your work is done." She stood brushing dirt from her hands. Sung noticed she was smiling through tears again. It seemed she did that a lot these days. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now?" The Empress looked at the settlement, at the thousands of humans building new lives, at the ships descending from orbit carrying even more of her people. "Now we live, we build, we love, we make mistakes and learn from them. We do all the messy, complicated, beautiful things that humans do." "That sounds good to me." "Me too." She took a deep breath of air that smelled of growing things and possibility. "For the first time in 200 years, I am looking forward to tomorrow, not because I have to protect it or control it, but because I get to experience it. Thank you for that. Thank you for not giving up, for choosing to change." They stood together as the sun set over humanity's new home, casting long shadows across a settlement that would grow into a city, then a network of cities, then a vibrant culture that would spread across the stars. The galaxy had survived the transition from empire to council. Species that had been enemies were learning to cooperate. And humanity, scattered and lost for 3 centuries, was finally coming home. It was not perfect. There would be challenges ahead, conflicts and setbacks and moments of doubt. But standing there with the Empress, watching humans and aliens working side by side to build something better, Sung felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate hope of survival, but the confident hope of people who knew they could face whatever came next, together. In the distance, another colony ship descended from orbit. More humans coming home, more stories to be told, more futures to be built. The Empress watched it land with a smile. "You know what the best part is?" she asked. "What?" "I get to see how this story ends. Not from a throne, not as an immortal observer, but as one of you, as a human." She turned to Sung, her eyes bright with joy and peace. "I get to be part of the story instead of just writing it. That is all I ever really wanted." "Then welcome home," Sung said. "Welcome to the family." "Thank you." She looked back at the settlement one more time. "For everything. For reminding me that humanity is not just about biology or genetics or even survival. It is about choosing to be better, choosing to hope, choosing to love even when it is hard. That is what makes us human, and that is what will save the galaxy." As the stars emerged overhead, humanity's first night on their new world began. And somewhere in the earth beneath that tree, an AI core that had once carried the consciousness of a man named Wu rested peacefully, its mission finally complete. The promise had been kept. Humanity had survived. And in the end, hope had proven to be the most powerful force in the universe after all.